Hello everyone, Flapjack Pants here, and welcome back to another episode of the single player series. Today, I want to build a semi-automatic kelp farm. Okay, so we're going to build the farm right here, next to the sugarcane farm, and I kind of already have an idea for how it'll look. So here's our material list. Let's get cracking. So what makes this semi-automatic is that we're going to have a manual fuel input. So I'll need to put in kelp blocks in order for more kelp to smelt. So this is actually my first time interacting with glow lichen here. Let's see how this works. Okay, so it just bone meals the closest block horizontally, it looks like. We can definitely make a farm out of this later, but for now I'll just manually gather up some glow lichen. Okay, so that should be all the materials that we need for this project, and let's get started with the exterior. As you can see here, the palette that I've decided to use for this particular build really uses a lot of browns here, and you know, that's a color that I use a lot in builds, and I really like it. But I've never really used packed mud in particular. I don't really honestly experiment with new blocks as much as I think I should. So this is a great opportunity for me to really branch out and really just try some new things. One of my bigger regrets in the way that I planned this city is I didn't really leave enough space for more greenery and trees. So kind of having these little flower patches out in the front should hopefully compensate for a little bit of that. Okay, so this is the design that I've gone for the first floor here. I really do like the way the mud blends in with the spruce logs here. I think I'll definitely in the future use more of this. Now let's get on with the second floor here. If you were to honestly ask me right now what my most underrated block would be in the game, I think all the stripped woods would probably be up there. Genuinely, these blocks, they all have such nice colors, and they all blend super well together with older blocks like the spruce logs, that I genuinely think these building blocks being added really played a part in the resurgence of this game in 1.13. Maybe I'm just maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, but I really like how these look and everything. So believe it or not, that's basically the entire exterior that I can do right now. I'm going to add a roof later, but that's going to be made out of kelp blocks. So it's better to get those from the farm itself, of course. So right now, this is all we'll do for the exterior. It appears we have a visitor. Red sand is actually pretty hard to come by, so I'm actually going to buy some red sand off this guy. There we go. Now I have bad news for you, friend, but you have outlived your usefulness. Anyways, on with what we were doing. So, now that we're on the interior, I've decided to use these beehives for the floor here. I've never really done this before either, so a lot of firsts today. Okay, so now the interior's kind of coming together now, so you can see kind of what I've been going for. So over here there's some chests just for storage, storage for kelp blocks once we get them. This is going to be the smoker where the magic happens. So all of the kelp is going to be funneled into this smoker, and then we can semi-automatically add fuel here, which will produce the kelp, which will then end up in these chests here. So there's hoppers behind them, all connected all over to a water stream and wire it all up. So yeah, this is what the inside's gonna look like. I really wanted to use warped stem and wood here because I was inspired by Etho's lab and his use of color in all of his builds. And you know, this is like a very Etho looking project, I think, right off the bat. Alright, so now that all the interior that we can do right now is done, I still need the kelp blocks for the roof, but we'll get to that in the end. We can now start on the redstone here. Okay, so first and foremost, we can get this smoker here automatically hooked up to a dropper. This system right here will dispense the items one at a time, and because the smoker only smelts one item every 5 seconds, I believe, this should be plenty of time for this to have switched over, as you can see. Okay, I'll explain how this farm works itself. So as you can see right here, we'll eventually get the kelp here once I place down all the water. So kelp is going to be here, and then I'll have another observer right here. So as you can see, anything that happens here will trigger an update to this observer right here through these rails. And because it uses rails, it's slightly more efficient than redstone. So we do that again. As you can see, this is all working. All I do is tile this design across all of these, and then we'll be stacking this on top of itself a few times in order to create our full farm. So we may have a bit of an issue here, the way the water generates. It's getting quite loud. Oh jeez. Okay, I'm gonna turn block sounds off. First, I'm going to just fill in this top row of water here. And then all the pistons are going to be firing, but I think if I put in the kelp like I did for this one, that it'll all be fixed. Wait, hold on. What does this sound like? I'm just curious. I know it was loud before, but it's... Oh, goodness gracious. So just as long as I'm able to get the kelp blocks in, yeah, then the water flows correctly. But man, it would be a nightmare to make a large farm of this scale with all of these pistons going off constantly like this. So it wasn't easy, but I've managed to put in all of the kelp here. And as you can see, it's already producing a little bit of kelp. All the carpets were washed away, but now I think we can put in a glass divider here. As you can see, it's going to separate the water from here. And as you can see, the water is a bit uneven right now, but as soon as the kelp grows out, it will eventually even itself out, I think. So let me try something here. If I bone meal this glow lichen, can I just place it all like that automatically, or... Yeah, that's what I thought. Glow lichen doesn't grow into water. So after a little bit of AFKing, as you can see here, we've filled up these hoppers here. So I'm gonna actually run the farm. Alright, so after a hot second of AFKing, as you can see here, we've gathered a good amount of dried kelp. So now I guess my main plan is going to be to finish up the roof, and then maybe if we have time we can add some extra paths to the city, maybe try to finish up that by the end of this episode. So yeah. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go up simply diagonally here. Contrary to the plans that I've laid out here, I'm actually not planning on doing like a zigzag like that, but just having a flat roof in the middle, because I think that would be a lot less complicated, and I think it would look visually better too. Now, if this catches fire, because of lightning or whatever else, it will burn down. So we do have to be careful about that. I will probably... Let me see if I have any lightning rods. Let's just add in the lichen here, now that we've increased to the height of this glass. Something that I've noticed while doing this is that these kelp blocks really look like Christmas presents. Maybe if you put like a coral fan on top or something, that could be like a bow. Interesting thought here. Alright, and that should be basically the end of this build. So as you can see here with some of the materials I have, I ended up shaving off the sides and of course extending the glass and the glow lichen. So if we look from the street here, it's a pretty nice looking building. Actually I guess I could not extend that one block over. I can fix that, but I really like how the inside looks. Pick up the chains that I took off here. Oh yeah, and there's supposed to be kelp behind here. Okay, now we're finished. I really like how the colors look, how, you know, the effect the glow lichen has on the glass. You know, the fact that the farm is in fact churning out kelp as we speak. I was using coal before. Yeah, this is a really cool place. Okay, so small problem. It is not in fact spawn proof up here. I should add a torch. That should do it. And in between those clips of me saying I was going to AFK and then me showing off the kelp after my AFK session, you may have noticed that the city has slightly changed. So I've added some bushes here. You know, I've changed the way the garden is. I've added podzol underneath all of the leaves. In my base here, I've changed up totally how this area is. I've gave myself like a formal bedroom instead of just the one bed there. I think, you know, I'll add these small decorative changes over time. Like we have a portal here. And then, you know, hopefully we can have a much better looking base over time. Alright, so as I stand here on this future sidewalk, I guess I want to talk about my updated plans for the city. So this is going to be the inner edge of another square, so kind of like that area there. So there's going to be a 9-block wide street here, then another sidewalk, then it'll be the river. So essentially we're going to have to cover up and move this entire river, which is going to be a pretty massive task, but you know, we have the sponges for it. Or we can just cover it up and just pretend like it was never there. But essentially this will link up with the river over there. I think it roughly should. So in the end we'll have a nice straight river that still blends into here and eventually goes out into the sea. This wall is now out of place. So my plan is I'm going to tear down this wall starting from right there where this walkway connects into that tower. I'm going to tear all of this down and then we'll replace it with a wall that goes that way in the future. So I'll get started with tearing down the wall. Alright, so as you can see we kind of shaved off the top here of all of the towers. And I'm just converting this from a corner to just a straight edge. So that'll involve removing quite a few blocks here. Right, I think this should be like that, so yep, you can see it this when we cover up this. Yeah, now this should be, if we come over here, yeah, it's the same as this. Okay. Alright, so now that we've taken this wall down, you can really see how bare bones a lot of these structures are. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'll basically try to finish extending this sidewalk. I'm still not super sure what to do with the wall here, if we're going to go all the way up to the wall or do something else, but I'll get that and the road in, and then I'll just see what work I can do with the time left in this episode. Alright, so as you can see, I've done a little bit of work here on the roads. So I've finished up this riverside walk right here, and I've also connected this to the rest of these squares here. But there's a pretty large hill over here that's in the way, so we'll have to clear that out. But I am unfortunately out of time for this episode, so we'll do that later. Right, I'm also planning on connecting up this rectangle here to this square to form the first half of our main base. It's going to be like a big castle structure. I'm thinking we can have like a bridge of its own connecting to the other side, and it's going to have a symmetrical shape there. So it's going to be kind of like two triangles on the opposite side of the river. And right now the land here is like very barren because, you know, I'm kind of bulldozing all of it to build these roads. But eventually it's gonna look nice and filled in once we get all the buildings in. But yeah, that is the end of this episode. I'm completely out of time. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell button for notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.